Okay, Sistas fans, Althea Williams messaged me about this. I'm a big Danni fan and I really like your reviews. Thank you for that. Can you please do one on if Tyler puts Preston and Angela together? Do you think Danni will become a Karen 2.0? It will be real bad. I don't want to see my girl become a Karen at all. Um, they bash her a lot. I think she will. But anywho, have a good day. Let me put it this way. I definitely believe if I just made up the whole Preston and Angela theory just for fun. Like, hey, look, if Danni isn't going to turn around and, get with Preston, which at this point, look, I'm going to be honest here. I've been off that whole ship for quite a while. Like, people who ship Danni and Preston together, that ship has long sailed by me. At the beginning of last season, when this man poured his heart out, and she literally said, "You're a grown man. I shouldn't have to teach you," basically putting the weight of the black struggle on Preston. Like, he needs to know everything there is to know about, what it means to be a black woman in America in order to be with Danni. And she's literally unwilling to teach him. And I've already ranted about that, at the beginning of last season about how I don't think it's fair for anybody, like, let's say, a black person trying to date a white person, an Asian person trying to date a Hispanic person, a Chinese person trying to date, a Caucasian person. It's just one of those things where I don't think it's fair for you to expect someone of a different ethnicity to fully understand the struggle of another race if they didn't grow up with said struggle or knowing what's offensive and not offensive. Little things like that. And the fact that Preston showed that he is more than willing to do the work, yet Danni wouldn't budge, just let me know, Preston, you need to move on. You can do way better than Danni, given the fact that she's for the streets. The fact that Preston has walked in on Danni twice. Yeah, you could argue, well, yeah, he's showing up unannounced, and okay, yeah, I'll give you that. But the fact that he caught Danni in the act of, I don't even want to say cheating because technically they weren't in a relationship, but regardless, she literally overrides the whole being caught with another man thing with, "Preston, here you go again, coming over here without, calling or anything, respecting my space." Yet again, another example of these sisters never really holding themselves accountable, or when they get called out, they try to make the conversation something else. They try to play victim. Then, of course, you all know I'm not a big fan of how Tyler has written Preston to be simping for Danni for quite some time now. Even worse is you got Zach involved in this mess by having him being the one to give Preston all this advice, which I didn't like that part of it at all. Preston talking to Zach about the Danni thing, sure. We know they have a friendly, relationship. They're pretty cool with each other. But to have Zach being the one feeding Preston these strategies and whatnot, no, I didn't like that. I mean, hell, let's put it this way. This just further reinforces why we should see Preston on Zatima. Like, imagine if Preston, would talk with Zach, but then you got the likes of a Tony or a Nathan giving him advice. And then Zach's like, "Look, man, don't listen to these two knuckleheads." And, then Preston's like, "Well, Zach's advice really isn't working. Maybe I should, try out what Tony said." And then, that's how Danni runs into him, on dates and whatnot. But I do feel like when we go over to Sistas again, going from Zatima to Sistas, I know for a fact if Preston was on a date with Angela, because in Zatima, it's a question of season 2. Okay, Angela getting the confirmation that Bryce is bisexual. Will they break up or what? And I said, here's a fun little scenario of how Preston could meet Angela maybe. Maybe he stops by Zach's house one last time to say farewell before he leaves Atlanta for good. And while he's over there, maybe Fatima and Angela are just there. And he, meets Angela. Maybe they have a great first impression of each other, then decide to go on a date. Because we know Angela was saying in the first episode of Zatima, she's trying to date outside of her race. So as a result of that, these two start seeing each other. Now imagine they're on a date and then Danni catches them. Look at every time Danni has caught Preston on a date, I believe in season 4 of Sistas. That should tell you right there, she would go off. But the thing is, this time it wouldn't be Zach giving Preston, bad advice and whatnot. It would be, hey, Preston was leaving town. Then all of a sudden he, saw this other woman, and now he decided to stay. And as a result, he started dating her, which is another reason why the whole Mindy thing is so damn dumb. I mean, some people have said, well, Jeremy, maybe Preston made up the Mindy thing. If he did, that's just way too manipulative and out of character for Preston, unless he was truly grasping at straws in order to find some way to get Danni to come around. I hate that, because I can imagine Danni walking up. So what about Mindy, huh? What about this Mindy character? So you decide to stick around and date someone entirely new, and you said you were going to just go back home and meet with Mindy. Not going to lie. Even though it will be yet again another rude thing for Danni to do, to interrupt Preston on his date. Yeah, I could see her being in the right for saying that about Preston. But at the same time, it's like, look, you had plenty of chances to come around. And Danni, you decided to mess around. Go call up El Fuego. Call up Logan. The butt licker that's the bartender at the gay bar. Call him up. Do what you want to, but leave Preston alone. Yes. I have no doubt in my mind that if Preston decided to give his attention elsewhere, Danni would yet again play the victim. Feel like she's the one who, was the one who was wronged, despite the fact that she was the one who constantly turned Preston down at every turn. So, yeah, she would definitely turn to a Karen 2.0. Even worse is at the beginning of season 4, you had Karen calling Danni about Preston showing up to the salon with another woman and, literally turning Danni into Karen 2.0. So, yeah, we've seen it, meaning that it's even more confirmed that if we actually see Preston move on with somebody else, in this case Angela, Danni will be tripping. But, if, like I said, bring Preston over to Zatima, and you won't have to worry about her, because we barely got, there are no Sistas characters on that show so far outside of Zach and Fatima. But yeah, that's pretty much my response to the message I received this morning, that Danni will be tripping. Just to segue, all of these women trip whenever the man that wants them, but they don't want to be committed to, moves on to someone else. They all play the victim card, even though they have moved on with other men. Case in point, I already said almost 10 minutes about Danni, how Preston, for some reason, it's a sin for him to date, but she can just sleep with El Fuego. She can date Logan. She could, sleep with the booty licker. I mean, that's what he's known for. The booty licker, the guy, the straight man who was the bartender at the gay bar that Calvin and Maurice always go to. Yeah, she can do all that. It's okay for her to sleep around, but for Preston to go out with someone is the worst thing ever. Oh, well, you never took me out on dates and this and that. Oh, okay, Danni. And then Andy, that's just a hot mess. I mean, her and Gary, that was an affair from the beginning, so I really don't even know what to say about that. But she can mess around with Robin. She can mess around with Paris. But Gary, that girl I was in a threesome with, yeah, she told me that she knows you. Turns out you've hooked up before. Yet again, completely negating the fact that, well, you had a threesome, so, and that did include Gary, so, What's your argument here, Andy? Because they just love the drama. Karen, look, we already know Zach isn't allowed to move on, but she's allowed to move on with Aaron. Or was allowed to move on with Aaron. Now she's just, backpedaling so hard now. And then Sabrina, I'm going to say she's possibly the only kind of innocent one here in this, because of the fact that Calvin wants her, but on 2 different occasions, she shot down the chance of a relationship. He's wanted to be exclusive. She says no. And I do feel like the biggest piece of evidence that's her being a victim is when they randomly got back together in season 3, I think. I forgot what season it was. Maybe it was the back half of season 3. But yeah, they randomly got back together. They just sat down in her apartment and drank, and Calvin went over all of his kinks and whatnot, and Sabrina was like, wow. And then they had sex. But wait, did they have sex that time, or did she send him home? Yeah, I think we're talking about another. Basically, it's the time that Sabrina, yeah, it was around the time of the bank robbery, I believe. I think it was when Maurice and Sabrina went back to the apartment, and then they saw Calvin walking out of his room butt naked with Peggy. And the thing was, this was mere hours after they had woken up in Sabrina's bed that morning, where they agreed. I think Calvin was the one who even initiated. Look, Sabrina, if you don't want to be in a relationship with me, that's fine, but just let me know if you want to start seeing someone else. Let me know before you do, aka the Jacoby thing. Yet a few hours later, here we are with Calvin and another woman messing around, which makes him look incredibly bad. So yeah, I will give it to Sabrina. She is the only sister I wouldn't put in that category just yet, in regards to someone who is being pursued by a man, but for whatever reason, they don't want to be committed with them. But when this man decides to pursue other women, then they want to act like they're hurt. And like I said, if Calvin hadn't said, hey, let me know before you see someone else, that way I have a heads up, yet here he is being caught messing around with another woman. So there you go. All right, well, that's all I got to say. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.